how many times I have done a live and I still haven't figured it out. So I have a feeling we are ready to go.
Yeah, so do
Um,
I.
we are.
I'm
It's
recording.
connecting to LinkedIn. It's on
Yay.
YouTube. We're getting there, everybody. Okay, so I can click to join. Starting soon. Okay, it's just connecting right now. All right, gonna wait for
Yay.
1 minute.
Did we make it work? Did we get it to work?
We're getting it to work. It says connecting, and in uno momento, here we go. We are live, people. I see. Right? I hope. Oh my
I
God.
love it.
Are we
I'm
not
so
live
glad
yet?
you know what we're doing because
Girl, I don't obviously
I would
don't know what
never
I'm
figure
doing.
this out.
We are. We are good to go. We're live.
Oh,
It's
thank,
amazing.
Yay!
thank God for Lisa
Yay.
Klein, who can look on her end and see that we're live. Hey,
Nice.
everybody.
Two thumbs up.
Oh, what you'll never see behind the scenes is all the chaos that happens leading up to a live. But here we are, amazing souls in the house, sitting here all together, ready to share with all of the peeps who are here on LinkedIn today to learn more about building a business. If you're here, we would love for you to just drop a comment in the chat, in the LinkedIn chat, and let us know that you're here so we know who we're hanging out with today.
Oh,
Ah,
yeah, look at that.
so
Woo!
happy. I don't even know where I can find the live. Where are you finding the live?
You're good. I have it covered. You're good.
I need a Lisa Klein. This is why, Lisa, you are here. This is why
Exactly.
who's
I
the,
love
the
it.
the launch strategist. She needs to help me learn to launch the LinkedIn Live. So anyway, we have an hour together today, less than an hour because it took us 5 minutes to figure out how to get on the live. So we have 55 minutes. And we're just going to get this party started. I want to introduce myself, and then I want the ladies in the house here to introduce themselves. But before I introduce myself or them, I want you to know that today is really about creating a space with amazing human beings who have built their business and have found incredible success and also help others in finding their success in building a business. I am somebody who started to build her business a couple years ago, but these three humans in front of me are all people who have served and supported me in different ways in building my own business. And so I am not the one who has all the answers about business as a whole, but Chris, Lisa, and Anna, they have many of the answers. I think those of you who are either considering building a business or you are in the beginning stages of building a business, or you've been in it for a while and you still need to find some clarity and you still need to know how to do lead magnets and lots and you still need to figure out how to show up authentically online. These are your girls. What I've done really well in my time of being on LinkedIn is creating a beautiful network of human beings who really know their stuff. And Anna, Lisa, and Chris are going to share their wisdom with all of you today for free. I'm basically just going to be the host. I'm facilitating the conversation. And so before we even get going today, I want to allow Anna, Chris, and Lisa in that order to just share a little bit about, first of all, their names and who they are and what they do and who they serve. And Anna, I'm gonna let you start.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for this. I'm so excited, well, obviously, to be here with all of you and everybody out there. I'm Anna Lidwinowski, and I am a business clarity coach. I am a 4 times founder and 33-year entrepreneur. I know, I must have started when I was an infant, I'm sure of it. Um, I basically work with 7-figure founders and experienced solopreneurs who are really stuck in doing all the things. I help them fix their offers, their messaging, their pricing, all of the stuff that's going to help them grow with confidence. So that's what I get to do. And I love it. I love, love, love it.
I love it. You're really good at it too, Anna. You're really
Thank
good at
you.
it. Chris, let's go.
Awesome. My name's Christine Capitos Rowe. I'm a social media strategist and two-time six-figure business success mentor for rebellious, multidimensional life artists who really want to align their business to their cosmic purpose. So my unique methodology combines human design and bold, expressive social media strategy, lane of one positioning, and low lift sales systems.
Yeah. Chris and I met a long time ago, and I was just enamored with her content and how she shows up online. And I haven't stopped being inspired by her, whether it's on LinkedIn or Instagram, wherever I can follow her, I will follow her.
Thank you so much.
All right, Lisa.
Well, I'm already like, wow, I love being in this room with these people. I am Lisa Klein. I am a business coach, launch strategist, lover of all things lead magnets. I support online service providers and coaches. And really, the goal is to simplify and scale. So, creating those efficiencies and those systems within your business to help avoid burnout.
I love that. I love that. And Lisa has just supported me recently on a launch that will be coming probably in November. But she's always been my ride or die. I mean, literally, these three women on this call are incredible business women, but also just incredible humans, which I think is just as important when you're deciding to hire somebody to coach you. You want somebody who knows what they're doing, but you also want somebody who can treat you like a human. And we know that that's just as important. My name's Renee DeVore. I haven't figured out what to call myself yet, but I'm just going to call myself a self-leadership coach, mindset coach, transformation coach, whatever it is. But I do a bunch of different things. I'm not just set in my life coaching. I also do some leadership coaching. But really what it boils down to for me is, how do you lead yourself, whether it's in life, whether that's in your career or it's in business. I can tell you just from my own experience, opening a business and being a solopreneur has been the greatest personal development journey that I have ever gone on in my entire life. And I see the ladies here shaking their heads as well, like, we've been there, done that. And thank you, Julie, for the second time that I didn't have the same link in. This happens to me every time. I've got to figure out how to do lives better. Anyway, so I work with women, primarily Gen X and Xennial, elder millennials, in people who want to find better freedom in their life, right? And more fulfillment. They feel stuck. They're kind of looking at that second chapter of their life and saying, is this it? Is this all there is? That's me. And so I'm really excited to be able to create this container today of women to support other women who are looking to grow their business, probably service-based business here online. And so I'm going to be the one facilitating and asking questions today of these amazing humans and allowing them to answer the questions. But I also want to let you know, as a group on this call, if you have other answers that you can kind of tap into after somebody else answers there, I want you to feel like you can do that too. So Anna, you're going to be the first one to. I'm going to put you on the spot, girl. All right?
Do it. Bring it on. I'm ready.
All right. So when someone has an idea but doesn't know where to start, what are the first 3 steps you would recommend for somebody who doesn't know where to begin?
Oh man, that's like a softball. I love it. Because it all starts with clarity. I know I'm going to keep using that word all the time, but honestly, what that really means is understanding the purpose. Who are you going to serve? What are you going to do for them? And how are you going to do that? That's really the very core of any business, right? I mean, even the Nikes and Adidas's and all those other companies of the world, they all started with that core concept of who are we serving, what are we doing, and how are we doing it. And until that's super, super clear, I call that a foundational piece. It's really the root of any business, and once that's super clear, all the other things get a lot easier. Maybe simpler, not easier, or simpler might be a better word. They're still going to be challenging, but it's all going to come back to that same core thing. Probably the greatest one of all of those is understanding who you serve. And it doesn't mean you have to be so specific that it's brown-haired people with blue eyes and minimum 5 feet tall. Like, I don't mean niching yourself into a corner like that, but really understanding who will benefit from that skill set that you have to offer. That's really the bottom line.
Mm. Any other thoughts to add on to that, Chris or Lisa? Any other thoughts, Chris or Lisa, onto that? What are the first 3 steps you would recommend? For me, I feel like I want to add on to this too. It's something that I've thought a lot about as well, is finding your gift, right? And really leaning into that. And I think so often we think about, like, what are the things I'm good at, but maybe that thing that you're good at isn't something that you really love, or doesn't feel like necessarily a gift. And I think that that's a really important place to also begin, is like, what do you love, right? What are you really good at? And what feels like a gift for you? Because that's when it's going to feel easy, right? I feel like that's when building a business is going to feel a little bit easier, is because you're leaning into things that already feel natural for you.
For sure. And I think I started after that point, right? Like, you're actually the very, very first point. What is it that lights you up? I don't know how many people I've talked to that are doing whatever their business is, and they don't even love it. Right? Like, that's not what lights them up. And it's kind of like, then why are you here? Like, that just seems like such a huge investment for something that's not giving back to you, that isn't fueling you and satisfying you, right? I mean, you have to have that part. I love business. I could talk about this like till I'm blue in the face. And it lights me up to hear other people talk about it and what their challenges are and how they got over them. Like, this fuels me, whether people paid me or not. I mean, I just love to talk about it. So to be able to do this as my job, like, oh my gosh, like, this is the best thing ever, right? So yeah, you're totally right. That should be really the very first thing, is figure out what lights you up, and then take it from there. Who can I share those gifts with, right? Who's gonna benefit from the gifts that I have to give, right?
I'm going to put everybody on the spot, like, because I want people to hear, like, what lights you up, because they heard what you do. So I love, like, Christine Capatos Rowe. What lights you up?
What
And how
lights
does
me
that
up?
connect to your business? Yeah.
Yeah. Every time that I step up to like create a piece of content or really create anything in my business, like, what comes to mind for me is my inner child and what would feel like play for my inner child to create.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of the advice out there talks about, figuring out, what does your audience want from you? What does your audience need from you? What does your audience know you for? And that pigeonholed me for a really long time, because I was talking about the things that I thought people wanted from me. And I ended up it's really like a crash course in people pleasing. When you step up to the plate to create something and you're thinking, what do people want and need from me? Versus like, what would feel, our content and the things we create gets to heal us first. So that's my mindset when I step up to the plate to create anything. Isn't like, what do people want from me? What do people need from me? That works for some people. So if that works, for you, then hats off to you. But I just know for me, like, when I step up to even paint a picture, like, I love to paint. And that was something that I stopped doing for a really long time. Like, when I create something that's artistic, I'm not thinking about what people want. I'm not thinking about what's going to sell, like Picasso wasn't thinking about that stuff. If he was, he would have created, something entirely different. In fact, when he stepped up like to create something, it outraged people because it wasn't what they wanted. It wasn't what they thought they needed. But that wasn't his mindset when he was creating his art. So I think there's a little bit of like a mindset shift there that we can like allow ourselves to have. But that's not the advice that like mainstream marketers out there are really gonna give you. It's not to prioritize what you want to put out there. So that's what I would say to that.
That's why I love you so much, because you taught me the same. Because I think that's a recipe, just what we were talking about. And Lisa, I want to come to you too. That is a recipe for like burnout real quick, is if you're not leaning into what lights you up and you're trying to please everybody else and not focus on yourself, whether that's the inner child or it's like I'm really lit up or excited about this. That is a recipe for burnout if you don't have those two things in play. Lisa, what about you?
Okay, so what lights me up is supporting other people and
Yes.
making an impact in other lives, however that might be. So when I started coaching, I was in the health and wellness space, started in 2014, and was been in that space for nearly 10 years, making an impact, helping women transform their lives from the inside out. And it slowly, through the seasons of my own life, that was a great place for me to be. And once I moved into business coaching, I still have that as the backbone of what I love and what lights me up is helping women in their businesses, right? So I'm still able to make an impact in the lives of others, just through a different means.
I think you bring up something that's really important too, Lisa, is that I think we come into this business, and Anna, I think you're an example of that. Chris, you are too. We're all examples of this as we enter into becoming a solopreneur, entrepreneur, and we go down one path, and inevitably that may not be the path we stay on forever, and we end up going on different paths because we just stepped into taking action, right? So I think about my own journey. What lights me up is, what my gift is spreading love, light, positive energy. I say this out loud all the time, but I also am very good about seeing the potential in others when they can't see the potential in themselves per se. And so, but that can come in a bunch of different packages. So I do that at a company that I do leadership coaching with, right? And talking about leadership development, I do that through my life coaching. I do that through my retreats. There's a bunch of different ways we can do that. But I'll tell you, it all started by starting an Etsy store, right? And just basically naming it Soul Growth and saying, I want to put messages on hats and shirts and sweatshirts and put it out into the world. That was my starting point, which is very different than for a lot of other people. I didn't know I was going to open a coaching business from an Etsy store, but here I am, everyone, doing exactly that. So knowing what your gift is, knowing what lights you up, not getting sucked into the noise of doing it for everybody else. Ultimately, this business is about you and what your gifts are and how you can serve others. It's so easy, and we could probably tap into this for hours. It's so easy to get caught up in the noise of everybody else out there that's telling us how to do business. And we can use those opinions and thoughts and ideas, but ultimately it comes back to us and what feels right for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd even just make a little quick point about what you said, that you started with an Etsy store. And that's nowhere close to what you're doing right now.
No.
You started, and that's a huge step, right?
Yes.
That perfection paralysis, right? We said, the whole thing's got to be fleshed out. I have to have this huge business plan. I got to have all these bits and pieces all dialed in. And I think that if everybody would just tuck that aside and just start, more people would be doing the thing that they love. That perfection paralysis, it's like it talks them out of doing it because I should be doing the thing that everybody's telling me to be doing, right? And you just did it. right? Okay, so it's not what you're doing now, but it was the first step. How many people jump into the exact thing that they're going to end up doing for the rest of their lives? Like, nobody. You know, you have to take that first step and start. And I think that was like kudos to you, because you didn't let that stop you from the not knowing stop you from starting, right?
Well, that's a perfect segue into this question.
Oh dear. Into the next question.
Well, what do you know? Well, I have it. It's going to be out of order. This is going to be my last question, but because you just talked about that, and Chris, I'm gonna lean into you for this, and then the rest of us, I think, tap in too. What do you think the biggest mindset blocks are for solopreneurs at the beginning of their journey?
Yeah. And this kind of goes with like what are the biggest mindset blocks of people in the beginning of their journey, and then you know, that other question that you asked of like mistakes that I see people in their like the beginning of their business make. I think these questions go hand in hand because the answer is sort of the same. And I think the biggest mistake that a beginner can make in their business is embodying the beginner archetype, right? Which is like slow to take action, slow to invest in support. You're risk averse. You have imposter syndrome. You lack the unwavering belief, right? You're still kind of hedging. You're halfway in, you're halfway out. Maybe you have a plan B, and you view yourself as a beginner, right? Like you're waiting to not be a beginner versus the version of yourself that you tell yourself you will be once you have that external proof of success. So I think it's asking ourselves, like, how will I act once I have the proof? How will I move? How will I behave? How will I talk to myself? How will I invest in myself? Like, how will I hold myself, right? Do I see successful entrepreneurs, other people as proof, right, of what's possible? Or do I sit in comparison? Do I see a wide gap between myself and those people who already have the things that I tell myself that I want, right? Because if we can move like the version of us 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road as a beginner, like that is where we accelerate and quantum leap, as the industry says, right? Because here's the thing, like you're not actually a beginner when it comes to your trade or your skill or your service. Like I have a client who has been in children's education. Ironically, Renee, I know this is your background too. Mm-hmm. Like she's been in education for 15 years. She was on school boards. She ran music programs for 700 kids. She was like a trainer of trainer, a facilitator of facilitators. She has a dozen certifications, a master's degree, like all of these things, right? But she's never run a business. And so she has these blocks of like, oh, well, I'm a beginner. I don't know how to do this. Why would someone want to pay me? When she is not a beginner at all when it comes to, right, like her skills and things in her past career that can directly apply to what she's doing now, right? So maybe she needs to like learn some marketing. Maybe she needs to learn some copywriting, how to position herself, how to structure her offer suite. But like none of that makes her a beginner in what people are actually paying her for. And so once we established that, like her confidence skyrocketed and she started being able to kind of compartmentalize these feelings, right? Because that's all it is. It's like feelings of, wow, I have so much to learn when it comes to being a business owner. Yes, and that actually doesn't make you a beginner when it comes to serving your people in what you know how to do. So that's the biggest mindset block I think that beginners have, is embodying that beginner mentality and allowing that to sort of dictate the decisions that they're making and the way that they carry themselves.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, now everybody needs to go back, rewind that later, or fast forward that
later.
Listen to Christine again, because that was a full masterclass. That was powerful.
Yeah. What do you think, Lisa? Like, what are some of the mindset blocks that you think come into play for people who are just starting out?
I mean, definitely what Christina's touched on, right? The self-doubt, trusting themselves, the lack of confidence. Which sometimes stems from the inaction. I mean, those are the big ones.
Yeah, I feel like you touched upon something, Chris, as far as like 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I think a lot of people, and I was this person too, right? I had it in my mind that I was going to go from my principal job to corporate because that was the safe route, right? That felt more stable for me. And then when I started building this business, I still was applying to jobs on the side because I didn't necessarily believe that I could build this business on my own. And it was a point, and I don't remember when it happened, but specifically was like, I got to go all in on this. I can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out for the energy aspect of this, right? It's like that embodying piece of like, am I going to be a corporate girly, or am I going to be a solopreneur? And at some point, I just made the decision, like, I'm going all in. I think it was even my husband who was like, you're meant to do this. And I just, that little nudge was like, okay, I'm going all in. I had to go back and think about all the other things I've done in my life that were really hard. But I came out of it as is, but I didn't have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And I think when you're split between the two, you're not giving your all to building your business. And that's where frustration really taps in. Like, you really start to get frustrated, that feeling of like, oh, I've got something else to fall back on. If like the perfect job comes along, then I'm going to take that and I don't have to worry about this business, right? It really is about making the decision like, no, I really fully believe in myself to do this, and I'm going to make it happen. And I think, Chris, just like you said too, we are smart human beings who have done a lot of stuff in our life and experienced a lot. We have a lot of skills that we don't necessarily know we have because we've been stuffed into this box for so long. And now we're having to think for ourselves and think about, what is it that I can do? What skills do I bring to the table? What are some strengths that I have that people need to know more about, whatever, whatnot. So this is the personal development stuff that we were talking about, right, at the very beginning of this. So
And yeah, one thing I'll add to, because Christine touched on it, was imposter syndrome. And when you are using social media as your platform to market yourself, there's a lot of noise out there, and it's really easy to say, oh, well, look what Renee's doing, look what Anna's doing. And you get so distracted with everything else that you're like, should I be doing that? Oh, she did a post on that. Should I? No. And everybody who knows me, my motto is always blinders up and stay in your lane, because you are the only one, right? It's you. It's not what Christine is doing. It's not what anybody else is doing if you want to make your business successful for yourself.
Yeah.
So let's lean into that, Lisa, for a second. So what are some of the common mistakes you see people like newer solopreneurs make as they enter in? I mean, Chris kind of talked about that. Is it the same as mindset?
I mean, like, which way do we want to go with mistakes? But I mean, one of those would be literally getting onto social media and thinking you need to sound like everybody else in your field, in that, like,
Yeah.
okay, Anna and I do a lot of similar things. Does my content sound like hers? No, but we
Oh,
might
God.
talk about the same content. We don't
Yeah.
sound the same. But when you're new, you become, overwhelmed with everything that's out there, where it's like, oh, well, that was a really good post, I'm going to use it too. And I'm just
Yeah.
using that as an example, but
That's actually a really good one too, because you and I do touch on very similar topics in a completely different way, because we come from a completely different set of experiences. But then I think that's great, because it just reinforces the value of something like clarity or whatever. But a new person coming along doesn't see what's behind us, right? They just see this top layer and they go, oh, well, that's what I got to do, right? But you have to build that experience behind it. You can't just look at the surface of it, right? And I would think that's really hard to do. When I started, okay, this is so embarrassing. I started before Facebook. Facebook's been around forever, okay, right? I started before Facebook. But I can't imagine the pressure that people would have nowadays when you've got every kind of social media platform all up in your face 24/7. Like, putting blinkers on, that is such a great visual, because you do have to just block out a lot of that noise. I didn't have that noise when I started, but then I had the flip side is I didn't have anybody to look to, right? Like business coaches weren't a thing back then. There wasn't that kind of camaraderie and community that you could tap into. So it was the opposite end of it. But now there's so much, and I really think you have to make a conscious choice about who you want to listen to, right? Because everybody's going to have their own opinion because their experiences are different. So, you know, you touched on it a little bit earlier, Renee, is you got to find someone that you connect with on a human level, right? Like maybe you like me as a person and we're going to vibe together and we're going to work well together. Or maybe we're not. Maybe I don't look at life the same way that you do, and that's okay because there's Lisa, there's other people, there's other options that you can tap into to find that right connection. I think that's probably more important than trying to listen to bits and bobs from everybody because that's not going to work, right?
I'm just smiling at bits and bobs.
Like a Canadian thing.
This makes me think a little bit too about, which I find it so surprising because I'm not this person, as you all know, of people who are really nervous to post online, right? Who are really nervous about sharing their story.
I was, yeah, for the longest time.
Well, let's start with you, Anna, and then Chris, I want to go into you because you really talk about kind of embodying your full self, but I know you work with a lot of people too who also are nervous to show up online. But Anna, kind of maybe share with us a little bit about how you overcame that block. Like what made the difference for you?
That was hard. Like, again, I come from pre-social media, right? So you think back to the beginnings of Facebook and people posted their dinner, you know, pictures of their dinners and stuff. I'm like, why is anybody going to care what I'm having for dinner? You know, like it was just, okay, that's really surface level. But I come from a time where you had to put on a polished corporate look. You couldn't be small business. Nobody hired small business. You had to look professional. And for me to sit there and tell you about my life story, those two things just didn't jive. And one of the first things I learned about how to think differently was when I did Holly Crawshaw's original masterclass. And she calls it that 5% differentiator. You know, what is that 5% that makes you different from everybody else? So that was kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I could probably share a little bit about what makes me different. This is all your warts and warbles and all that kind of stuff. And then Jenny Rare, she's the love your weird. Like, what's your weird? And I was like, weird? Okay, that felt really extreme, but I understood what she meant. She's like, those quirks, those unique things that separate you from everybody else. And that's when you kind of go, oh, okay, yeah, like I'm a chicken mom. I have chickens. Like, that's a little weird for some people. I love them. I love my doggies. They're here somewhere. You know, like those are the things that are part of my life that make me me, right? So that was kind of the start. Am I like fully embraced in it? No, probably not. But then that's me. I'm a more private person that way. So this already is kind of outside that comfort zone, but it's been great to see people reach out and go, I didn't know that about you. That's super cool. I've had that same experience, or, you know, whatever it is, right? So it's like you have to take that little baby step, dip your toe into that uncomfortable pool, and then when you start seeing other people connect with that, it becomes easier. At least that's been my experience.
Love that. I've watched you grow too, Anna. It's been really fun.
Yeah. We've had some good chats about this.
Yeah, to where you are now. I mean, I love seeing that growth. I think for somebody like me, I've always shown up but you bring up a really good point, and I want to go to Chris first before this, but I think that question of like what sets you apart from everyone else,
That's
right?
huge. Yeah.
That's a really important question for you to tap into, whether you're just starting to build a business or you're deep in the business, because then you just blend in with the rest, right? So
Yeah,
we can talk.
Yeah,
We can talk. Go ahead.
That's where I'm sure Christine's gonna have some great insight, because if you're like everybody else, your content's gonna sound like everybody else. Your message is gonna sound like everybody. Your offers are gonna be like everybody else. Why would they choose you over somebody else, right? Like if you're all the same, then it's like pick one. You know,
Yeah.
you want to show your personality. You want to show what makes you unique and different, because that will speak to the right person, that ideal client that you're going to connect with, and you'll make such a huge impact for them.
And I'm going to speak to Christine before she takes the mic, because I've watched her really embrace her human design and embrace
cool.
being a reflector. Has taken it, I mean, she's still on LinkedIn, but she's taken it to Instagram, and the girl is flying. She's embracing this, like, you know, it's such a massive part of who she is and how she shows up in this world. And she's creating a space for other human beings to understand their reflector, like their human design and astrology and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, I watched you always kind of be kind of the girl who kind of played outside the lines or colored outside the lines, but then you just kind of fully embraced yourself. And maybe it was LinkedIn, I don't know, but once you got on Instagram and you started really embracing being a reflector and what that means and how you can serve and support everybody as a reflector, it's like you just embrace that part of yourself that I think you knew was there, but you didn't know to the extent it was there. So another props for you.
Oh, yeah. I so appreciate it. I received that. Thank you so much. Yeah. I like, and everything that Anna said is so true. Like, ultimately, there's a million business coaches, there's a million life coaches, there's a million keynote speakers. Like, literally, all you have to do is type in whatever your title is on LinkedIn, and you can see that there's millions of people. And so ultimately, like, what sets you apart is who you are and what you believe and what your values are. And the thing for me that, like, here's what I had to get over, and this is what I see. There's always one reason why people are afraid to show up that way. And it's because they are attached to the outcome. They're attached to whatever's going to happen after they post the thing. So for me, like, I had to get over that. I had to get over and stop allowing the rejection and the failures and the mistakes to mean anything about my worth and my abilities. Because the ones who see the rejections and the failures as signs of progress and signs of growth and are detached to whatever else happens, right? Those are the ones that are gonna ultimately be able to show up in a way that sets them apart, right? Those are going to be the people who are able to embrace their differentiators, because you're going to launch offers that no one's interested in. Like, you're going to create things that nobody downloads. You're going to share content that nobody sees, nobody resonates with. And if you need external validation to keep moving forward, good luck. Like, you're going to be in a standstill. I've been an entrepreneur since 2016, and the thing that I see the most in other business owners and in myself is that they allow, like, the distance between where they are now and where they're being called to be. Like, there's a process of becoming that person, and they let that distance between A and Z, like, they let that distance create a lot of suffering. Right? Like, the uncertainty causes frustration, and the lack of results causes, like, despair, and it fuels the things we already tell ourselves about our worth and who we are. Like, there's this saying that says, if we're looking for red cars, we're going to find red cars, right? So if we're already doubting ourselves, if we're already hedging, if we already feel like this isn't going to work, nobody wants what I have, like, right? Well, then when something fails or no one gives us the validation that we need in order to thrive and feel good about ourselves, and nobody gives us that, like, it's going to fuel those beliefs, right? Versus just knowing that it's a part of the game. Like, it's actually the barrier to entry is being willing to step up to the plate, knowing that we might strike out. And when we strike out, it actually doesn't mean anything other than, okay, well, I just need to step up to the plate and swing again.
Life is an experiment, right? It's one big experiment. And just like you did in your high school, I talk about this all the time, like just like you did when you walked into your high school classes, right? And you thought you were doing this science lab and you came up with your hypothesis and you went through the whole process and you're like, oh, that didn't work out. Then you go back and you try again, right? You try to figure it out. You keep doing. But just like the science lab, like you don't go into it with this expected outcome and that's going to grip tighter to it. You actually kind of surrender to the process of learning. And then once you get to the end, you realize you don't have the answer. Then guess what? You go back and you try again, or you go a completely different direction, right? Lisa, you're somebody who has, and I'm gonna just mute you for a second because I think there's a little bit of background noise. Lisa, you're somebody that also built kind of your Instagram following, and started there in your health and wellness space, came over to LinkedIn, and I wonder if you have any thoughts or opinions on people who feel like showing up is scary for them, and I think also thinking like, how do you show up authentically without necessarily having to feel like you need to share your whole life story? Like I'm okay sharing my whole life story. Well, maybe not my whole life story, but I'm okay showing up like that. But a lot of people aren't. And I think there's a lot of people out there that say you have to show up in your truth. You have to share your story so people get to know you. But how can people show up authentically? How can they show up embodying their true spirit, letting go? Like there's a lot of questions in that, but I think you know what I'm trying to get to. It's like, how do you set yourself apart when you're scared to even put yourself on the line?
Okay, two things, and I'm going to take it a step back to you originally before asked me about mistakes that I see for new solopreneurs, and one of them is trying to do everything all at once. And the same goes for trying to be everywhere all at once. So for social media, for example, it's where are your people? And so when I first started, yes, it was so long ago, it was back in the Facebook world. And then Instagram was kind of ramping up. And so that's where I dove in. And it was easy for me to be on Instagram in a place where it wasn't just my family and my friends. Like on Facebook, it was kind of the platform I came, social media was new then. And it was getting a lot of eyes like on people that weren't who I was trying to speak to. So when I came onto Instagram, I was really building my business there for my ideal clients, sharing the recipes. Yes, I was sharing my food, Anna, sharing my workouts, right? All those things. It was just a different space. And it's hard for me to say because I never felt uncomfortable. Now I go back and I totally cringe at the stuff that I did share. But I always in the back of my mind from that place of I'm doing this to help others. It wasn't like oh, look at me working out. It was, if I can do it, you can too. And in even what I'm doing as far as like how I'm supporting my clients now and building a business, it's if I can do it and I can be, you can too. If I can create a lead magnet, if I can send the emails out, if I can show up consistently, and it's really figuring out what's going to work for you. And so and I don't remember who said it before, it's not, always taking in, oh, this guru said I need to do it this way, right? What they might be sharing might work great for them in their business, but it might not work for you. So it's being able in those early stages and figuring out what makes you feel your best. How do you like to show up? Is it on video? Is it through stories? Is it through creating fancy graphics? What it feels good to you is, to Christine's point, it's like that's where your energy is. And so it's really being able to do what feels good for you and just know your worth and the value that you have to provide to others.
I love that. What do you think is like, this can go for anybody, and Anna, you can unmic. I'm sorry, I'm gonna unmute you.
Oh, okay.
Never mind.
Is it
Maybe
okay?
I'm gonna unmute you when you come back, when you're ready to talk, because it's a little noisy in the background. It's okay.
Oh,
So I want to ask, like, so let's say somebody is kind of poking around on LinkedIn or Instagram. They don't, I'm somebody on Instagram who doesn't have a large following right now, right? So what's some advice for somebody who maybe doesn't have a large following, doesn't really have much of an audience, but is looking to kind of build their content and make more connections? What are some strategies any of you might think you could use, or you could offer somebody who's kind of in that position? Because it's really hard. We all have been there, right? In the beginning stages, whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram or anywhere, and you're posting, you're putting all this time and effort into your content and finding the right selfie to go with the content, and it's crickets. So what strategies would you all give or offer to somebody who might not have that following or that audience yet on how to build community and how to share their story? Lisa, it sounds like you are ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the mistakes too, is that people focus on that follower count. And if you are able, right, any piece of advice is to disassociate yourself from those like vanity metrics and not focus so much on the follower count, not focus so much on the number of impressions, because all it takes when you're first starting out is one client, and really build those relationships. It's not for the number of likes, it's for the getting people to engage in the comments, take it from your posts into the DMs to really build relationships. I wouldn't be on LinkedIn every day if I didn't find some sort of joy in it, because I get to see Renee's posts, because I get to connect with Anna, and it's finding those people who will support you, who finding your clients, right? It's where are they hiding, and starting to foster those relationships so it becomes more than just transactions.
Let me be clear. I have not ever gotten one client that has, all of my clients that I've gotten from LinkedIn have never, ever been on one of my posts. Like they've never commented or even liked my posts. I didn't even know who they were when I met them. Right. So it isn't right. It's like you said, Lisa, it's not just about followers.
Yeah.
No, because sorry, go ahead.
I just was going to add, and some of that too is referrals, right? I have a relationship with Renee. She's referred some of her friends and connections to me, right? So it's building that network beyond just the one.
And there's also the lurkers, right? I would say probably in this past year, at least half, I'm guessing, roughly half of my clients have never engaged with any of my content. Probably most of those, or half of those people aren't even on LinkedIn. They if they see your posts on LinkedIn, but they just don't engage, right? So following that vanity metric is not really painting the whole picture, right? I mean, it's just a little piece of it, right? So one of the things I did in the very beginning, I did polls. I know polls were kind of like a thing back a couple of years ago, but even anybody who engaged with my content, I would reach out to them and be like, hey, what do you want me to share? What do you want to know? Give me some questions. Like what's keeping you up at night that I might be able to share in my content and stuff. And just asking people. We make the assumption that we know what our ideal client wants, but maybe it's something else, right? Maybe it's not that thing that we think it is. Maybe it's something we haven't even thought of yet. So being able to share that's how I started sharing a little bit about networking, because I had quite a few people saying like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be networking, but like I've never done it. I don't know how to is there like a thing? And it's like, well, yeah, there is. So I started sharing that. So don't be afraid to ask people what they want to hear from you as well, right? Especially if they've engaged with your content.
Chris, you want to share anything? Oops, just muted you. Now you're unmuted. Oops, you're muted again.
Can you hear me now?
Can hear you now.
Awesome. Yeah, I think like one really simple strategy for building trust with a small audience, because you don't need a large following to build trust. You don't need a large following to acquire clients, but building trust is how you build a large following, and it is how you attract clients. And we do this through our content and, you know, the stories we tell and how vulnerable we are. But ultimately, the best way to build trust is to allow people to experience us. And something that I've really discovered within the last 6 months in my business is our ability to sell high ticket services is directly determined by the quality of our top of funnel spaces. So top of funnel spaces are ways that people can come into our world and take one step closer to experience us and not have to pay anything. So podcasts, free communities, YouTube channels, conversion events, instant access resources that people can download. So I'm ringing Lisa's bell right now because I'm talking about those different forms of lead magnets. I personally leverage community spaces and free conversion events, and we'll be launching a podcast later this year. And these things sell my high ticket offers more than me talking about my high ticket offers. So my last 6 or 7 high ticket one-on-one clients came from a free community that I host in Telegram. So that's going to be, I think, whether you have 100 followers, 200 followers, 10,000 followers. I had a client who has 6,000 followers on Instagram, but the only thing she was doing was selling in her content, and she was selling high ticket, and she didn't have any real top of funnel spaces, you know, ways that people could experience her. And as soon as we implemented those, you know, free instant access resources, she started having people give her their emails, right? So that she can nurture them on the back end and they could be in proximity to her on a consistent basis. So I think that's like a really strategic and tactical way that we can build trust and ultimately drive revenue.
I think it's also important to, and I think all of us have kind of talked about it to some degree. I think it's also finding your lane, right? Oh, hi, Elizabeth. Elizabeth showed up on here. Hi.
Oh, I gave you the wrong link, Elizabeth.
This is amazing.
Oh,
Elizabeth just joined us. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I
We
gave
can.
you the wrong link.
That's okay, but you can just show up and hang out with us for a little bit. You're live with us now. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Am I not in the right place?
This is great. I love it.
I saw your note about it not being the right link in the LinkedIn Live, so I quickly gave you this one, not realizing this was my link to come on.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm crashing. I'm crashing.
Okay, hang out with us. Hang out with us. Hang out with
Your
us.
background is pink, so you're actually in the exact
good.
right spot. You're exactly where you need
You're
to be.
You're good. This is awesome.
Everything happens the way it's supposed to, I guess, huh?
And actually, you're really who this is for, because you're a new to entrepreneurship as of earlier this year. So you've come to the right place.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for hosting it. I also sent someone else the Riverside link, so I'm hoping Robin doesn't.
Okay, this will be alive for everybody. We'll just all be on the same platform together. Maybe
love
next
How
time we
many-
just need
how
to do
was
Zoom.
it? What were like the key takeaways that I totally missed that you can give me the highlight reel of?
Well, I want to just touch on what Christine had shared earlier, because I also think it's really important that I think there's a lot of people who stay on one platform and just spin their wheels incessantly, thinking that that's the only platform that they can be on. It's also finding what fits best for you. It could be something like right now I'm having so much fun on TikTok, right? I don't know if that's going to bring me any business, but I'll tell you that the DMs and conversations I have with women there are very different than I have on LinkedIn, right? So finding your lane and knowing that it doesn't necessarily all have to be here on LinkedIn per se. Although I think LinkedIn is a beautiful platform for a lot of reasons. It could be like what Lisa started off with Instagram, or Chris has like moved over into Instagram as well and building there. And I know a couple of other people too. It's kind of finding, it goes back to that experimentation piece of like what works for you, not what everybody else says works for you, but it's like what works for you specifically. And then diving into that, right? Not one foot in, one foot out. Really diving deep. And if you like really begin, like I'm really beginning to love TikTok right now and probably Instagram. And so I'm beginning to spend more time and energy over there than I probably am on LinkedIn. And so it's really just kind of finding what works for you, not necessarily what everybody else says is supposed to work for you. And it's hard because those of us here, Christine, you're not on LinkedIn as much as you were, but I think for the rest of us, we're sitting on LinkedIn hoping that we're gonna, that's where our business is mainly thriving. But I just want to say that because I think that there's a lot of people even who will say, stay in your lane, stay on one platform, don't spread yourself out too thin. And there's some degree of truth to that, but you also have to do what feels right for you. So, Liz, I know that you're on here and you didn't know that you were going to be on here, but you have also gone and spread yourself out, right? Beyond LinkedIn, you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, right? You're playing around in different areas because you are experimenting on what works for you and where you're going to get your revenue, right?
1000%. I actually just did my first TikTok live with someone that I met on TikTok yesterday, and it was awesome. And yeah, I think what you said is spot on. Each social media channel has a different purpose and a different audience, and people go to those places to spend their time differently. So you really have to think about how you're showing up in those spaces, who you're attracting in those spaces, what your message is. And ultimately, I'm all about ROI. So how are you spending that time, and how does that lead to revenue or relationships that lead to revenue?
Love that. All right, team, we are out of time, but I want to give Christine, Anna, Lisa, I want to give you guys some time just to share what do you have going on in your business right now. I put in the links, for people to be able to contact you and connect with you on LinkedIn. But what else is going on with you right now in your businesses that you can share out with people who might want to learn more about what you do and how they can maybe even work with you? Chris, I'm going to start with you. Are you there?
Oh yeah, sorry, I was just unmuting myself. Yeah, so like Renee said, if you follow me on LinkedIn, wonderful. I sort of have two segments of my business, if you will. I've been on LinkedIn since, I don't know, forever, 2016. And recently have started incorporating human design into my coaching and into my strategy, because for the last 8 years, human design has been a huge, like portal is the word that I would use, portal for me. And so the invitation, if I had to make any invitation, it would probably be my human design business blueprints, where we just go really deep into things like, your cosmic purpose, as I like to call it, your strategy. There's 5 different design types, and we all have different blueprints that we come here with. Like for Renee, for an example, she's a sacral generator. And so the way that Renee makes decisions, she has energetic anchors that allow her to basically anchor into like her full body yes or her full body no in any given moment. That allows generators specifically can make decisions pretty quickly because they have those energetic anchors, right? But for me, I'm a reflector, which means that I have 0 energetic anchors that I can anchor into at any point in time. And my strategy is actually to wait a lunar cycle, to wait 28 days before making any big decisions. And so in the business builders blueprint, we go really deep into what your strategy is, what your incarnation cross is, which is your purpose, what your path to abundance is. It combines astrology and a couple different, ancient practices and methodology. And so our business human design blueprint goes into all of those things, and it really is just a portal for healing and for clarity, and to learn a little bit about yourself. And then, of course, we take it one step further and integrate it into your content and your positioning. So we've been talking a lot today about differentiators and positioning yourself in sort of a lane of one, if you will. And human design, for me, has been the best way to do that, and incorporating it into different aspects of our business. So invitation. My other containers are at a minimum of 6 to 12 months, but our human design business blueprint is a great way to I call them catalyst sessions as well, because we meet one time, but we go super deep, and then we work to integrate that new knowledge and awareness of yourself and your blueprint that you came here with. It holds all the codes, the marketing codes, the messaging codes, and all the things. So we meet one time, we go really deep, and the results and the testimonials really speak for themselves. So I'll share my link with you, Renee, and people can click that link and learn a little bit more and lock in their spot, because I have a limited amount of one-off sessions that I do. So I'll share that link with you, Renee.
Awesome. Yeah, we can even put it in the comments too, because there's people that are watching right now that probably want to know more about what you offer, for sure. Anna, what about you? What do you got going on?
Ooh, later at the end of this month, I'm actually doing my first beta test of a new 2-day workshop that I'll be offering in November. This is like really new for me, because usually it's just like build it and launch it. And now I'm actually testing it. So I'm super excited about that part. But yeah, usually most folks work with me one-on-one. We do a 6-week Clarity Catalyst, which is my favorite framework. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. I think this new workshop's going to be really good for people who want to do, I call it the business clarity reset. It's that getting back to that foundational basics that sometimes we skip over, as we start to grow and want to get all to the exciting stuff, but it's really that foundational stuff that we got to really work on. So that's what I'll be doing this at the end of this month.
Awesome. Lisa.
And I also work with clients one-on-one, since everybody is unique and everybody's business is different. I have either a 4-week, it's the lead magnet launch lab, where you go through and we create a lead magnet specific to you that will lead to your offer and to conversions, and also a one-on-one coaching container, a 3-month container, specifically for those that are in the process of launching something new or relaunching something, and just need that support, that accountability and support to help through the process, not just the day the cart opens, but really kind of rewinding the calendar and starting from the back end, because a lot of times it's the pre-launch and priming your audience and everything else that goes into the launch before cart opens to make it successful.
As I said, all 3 of these amazing women, not to leave you out, Liz, but you just jumped on. So all of these women have served and supported me in some way to shape my business, which is why I've asked them to be a part of this call today. This all came to be because one morning I woke up 6-7 months ago. This is the generator that Christine was talking about. I woke up and I was like, I don't want to do business alone. And so I want to create a community around that. And I created the Soul Growth Sanctuary Entrepreneurs Club. And within 2 days, we had 40 people sign up for that. And anywhere from 15 to 16 people show up. On average, in the summertime, that dwindled quite a bit. But it has led me to wanting to build something specifically from my own experiences, of not wanting to do this journey alone, and believing that there are, I don't want to just make this gender based, but there's a lot of women out there who are doing business and feel isolated and feel alone, and wanting to create a community around solopreneurship and what it takes to be successful. And so you'll see something probably launching in November. I'm just going to name it here right now. It's the Soul Circle. For solopreneurs, it's going to be a 6-month mastermind that can lead into a 12-month mastermind that eventually leads into a retreat that will have amazing coaches in the container to serve and support new solopreneurs as they journey in, because I want to create spaces where people have the dream of finding the freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment that I was searching for. If they think that doing that is by starting a business, I want to give you the launch pad that you need in order to build that foundation to feel successful. So that's something that's kind of on the horizon. In the meanwhile, I'm also doing one-to-one coaching for women in the Gen X, elder millennial populations who are feeling stuck and unfulfilled and are searching for a freedom beyond what they currently have right now. So thanks for sticking around with us. We're 10 minutes over. But this is such a powerhouse group. Liz, you add to the powerhouseness of this group. I'm so glad you were able to join us. And this will not be the last live. We're going to keep talking about solopreneurship. We're going to keep talking about building a business, because there are more of you out here who want to be successful and are already successful, but may not be able to see that success from the lens and the seat that you're sitting in. These women, all of these women here sitting on the screen, are here to tell you that you are successful and they can help you even become more successful. So thank you to all of you for being here today. I appreciate you, love you. And thanks for everybody who showed up online today too.
Thank you,
you.
Renee. This is
Thanks,
awesome.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming, Elizabeth.
Bye.
I'm gonna, okay, I'm gonna stop.